So hi viewers, this is Anil Singh back with Pega. Exactly last year we had our first interview with the Managing Director of Pega India, Shri Suman Reddy garu. So today, yes, we are back again, especially on the budget event, and we have a big event coming up on the 1st of February. So here goes the interim budgets interactions with the Managing Director. So I welcome you to our show.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so we have actually seen many developments happening in the year 2018. So almost about 11 months done, and we are entering into the 12th month. Now, what exactly we would like to know the industry's perspective coming to the union budget. Of course, this would be an interim budget, but we would like to ensure that the industry voices are being heard. So first, we would like to know your reaction and your industry concerns, especially when it comes to the interim union budget. So what's your take?
Well, I think, each year we go into this fiscal exercises with a list of our expectations. So as NASSCOM, as a governing body, a governing council, we all collectively, think through in terms of, how it would impact various set of organizations. I think, technology is such a broad area now because it encompasses not just software companies like us, but it also has to take into account captive centers, and then startups is another area as well. So you move to Kalpkunte, I think there is a lot of areas which can have government can impact and help in terms of make it easy to do business. So as it pertains to our industry, a software industry, I think there are we have some more clarifications and legalities to be fixed around GST in terms of how some of the taxes are computed for place of supply versus self-supply versus parent subsidiary relationships and some of the SEZ related aspects as well. I think we continue to ask for more clarity on that. In the startup areas, I think we've represented that we would want some clarity on the angel tax, which I think is become a cause for concern for many of the startups. We continue to ask for income tax benefits and tax benefits for the first 3 years of startups, as they don't make too much money in the first several years. That is an area. And the large captives continue to sort of seek more clarity when it comes to the transfer pricing agreement. Sometimes it can be take a long term. So I think overall, in order for you to actually do business, I mean, we are doing collective business of $165 or $168 billion, which is going to grow to another 8% at least by next year, which means a massive industry. And many multinational conglomerates are coming to India to do business. So government's responsibility is to make sure that it makes it very easy to conduct business, easy to do business, whether it's around taxation, establishment, intercompany transfer pricing, permanent establishment is another one. I think secondment of US employees is seen as a PE establishment. I mean, so these are problems. We have to eliminate these kind of problems and remove friction from the system so that it becomes easier for companies to continue to invest here, flourish here, and grow the business. So these are broad set of views in terms of what the industry overall has thought through.
Okay. Now, very concerning matter was still the last year, the IT reforms were being taken up by the government with the new regime coming into power since 4.5 years. What we have seen is this year the outperformance is absolutely seen only in IT sector. So where do you see this sector going out before the next budget comes in 2020?
I'm sorry, you meant to say the IT sector has actually done well over the country?
Yes.
Well, I think this is also because of the global economy. I think yes, I think the policies perhaps might have helped. I think the GST simplification of some of these things would have also sort of perhaps helped. I think we have seen some positive benefits out of it. But the overall, I think the impact of IT growth, I think, has two reasons in my opinion. One is the global GDP has expanded, and therefore a lot of foreign investments have come to the country. The FDI continued to be high, and the IT outsourcing continued to be high. And companies like us who have our own captives, we've continued to sort of grow globally. So therefore, we increased our footprint here. The second area is, which I think we should not overlook, is the domestic growth. India itself now has become a fairly large economy. I think it's 5th largest economy. So a lot of internal needs are also increasing with large companies, with this whole digital transformation. As we have seen, companies are compelled to spend a lot more money on IT than what they have traditionally done. Now Pega does business here in India as well. We actually sell it to organizations in India, and we're seeing, in the last decade, I've never seen organizations who are willing to prepare to spend money because the consumer expectation is completely transformed. They want digital experiences in all aspects of their interaction with the companies. So it's forcing domestic companies to also invest in IT, and therefore you're seeing the overall growth of the sector.
Okay. Now, looking at this, could you share, coming to the IT sector, like the AI, machine learning and deep learning is the kind of buzzword these days, and the major work is happening on that. Since we have seen in WCIT last year,
right.
We also had an Autobot, a robot sharing with humans' feelings at the same time and a talk. So what exactly, could you share, shed more light on artificial intelligence basically?
Well, artificial intelligence is just not a myth or a buzzword anymore. It's a very much in use as a whether it's machine learning, whether it's robotics, whether it's artificial intelligence, whether it's decisioning and so on and so forth. NLP, there are a lot of aspects of AI. All of them are put in use right now because we work with the largest businesses across the world, and our software today actually draws key insights with various amounts of data in terms of patterns and so on and so forth to help our business provide their consumers with guided interactions backed by AI, artificial intelligence. So now I think it's become a perhaps most expected thing. As coming back to the government perspective, I think the Niti Aayog has announced last year, I think they're going to spend close to 3,000 odd crores in beefing up, I think, our AI, blockchain and so on areas and so on and so forth. While I think that's a good start in my opinion, but I think we need to further boost up. I think because if you look at the investments that are being done by China and America, quite frankly, I think we lag behind quite a bit. Whether it's in terms of utilization of these technologies in the social area. For example, China, if you think about it, they've deployed artificial intelligence across their highways through cameras, where these cameras which are recording data apply artificial intelligence to study any threats to their borders or even their basic security within the country. So as a social infrastructure, if we are able to actually build use cases out there, artificial intelligence or blockchain use cases, for example, one of the things that we do, we've released a software which does KYC through AI and blockchain. Right, know your customer. So essentially, everything about the customer is on blockchain, and you apply artificial intelligence principles to find out about the customer. Now, I think we need to bring those things and do it in India. When you have UI, DII infrastructure, how about we actually implement something at that level? That would go a long way in terms of it's not just about announcing an investment, but in terms of bringing the ecosystem forward. Spending that money and allowing, distributing that money on the ecosystem, startups, whoever is able to come up with solutions that solve real life problems of our citizens. And I think that would be a best way to, in my opinion, invest in AI, but do it so that actually we, encourage a lot of these ecosystem to, work on the bettering India solutions.
Wow. Now, coming to the sharing the same, in the next part of the question, like artificial intelligence, is it going to create a massive employment opportunities for these current generation? Because many people are having a lot of myths, whether it's a fact or not, but many people thought jobs would be taken away.
Right.
So what's your take on that?
Well, I think we've been hearing this, I think I've been answering this, jobs would be going away for the last 3 years, I believe, ever since I think we started talking about artificial intelligence. But if you look at the data, the jobs have only increased, if anything. So I think it's definitely a myth. Yes, I think certain level of very low level jobs will be automated, like it has always had. I think we've always looked for this high power computers came in and made some of the jobs very automated. I think that happens in various forms of life. While that is happening, I think we have published a report as well, I think a study that we've conducted internally at Pega, that there's a wide range of new set of jobs that will be created because of AI. Okay. I think there's a World Economic Forum themselves have predicted that there are 55 new kind of jobs that will come into play in the coming years. And many of them, I believe, have to do with artificial intelligence and new age technologies. Okay. So I think skilling is another area. I think where I would look at government and say, how do we create AI-related, blockchain, AI, or any advanced technology-related graduates and postgraduates at a much bigger rate, right? I think today, we could do a lot more in a skilling area where we can be producing thousands and thousands of people with some advanced degrees in these areas.
Wow. Now, initially, the government was completely taken forward by the UIDAI. And, this was created as a revolution. Coming after that, now AI is into the picture.
Right.
In the near future, what do you see in IT sector which is going to really have create another kind of a revolution in the next 10 years or 5 years down the line?
Well, I think, the unique ID project itself, which was taken up a decade ago, I think, probably has come to a point where I think it's not only serving its purpose, but I think, something tells me they're also looking at 2.0 kind of
Yes.
thing about it. And I personally think that, artificial intelligence and blockchain will play a huge role in terms of the next generation of our India architecture, the core architecture that we talk about, whether it's the unique ID or whether it's, other areas where we invest in terms of technology. I think we have to bet, at this point, we have to bet heavily on AI and blockchain.
Especially where I think almost about 11 to 12 months back, we met once in your press conference for the e-Pragati.
Right.
So our viewers would love to know, along with that, the AP natives at the same time, like what's the current scenario and the current status of the e-Pragati status?
So there are about almost 200 engineers right now deployed in the capital city of Amaravati, and they are building out applications for 33 departments. Today, Andhra Pradesh government citizen services is represented through 33 departments and 750 IT applications, approximately, somewhere around that. The vision is to, over the next 5-7 years, is to completely rewrite all of these applications onto one platform, which is what the ePragati platform is. Today, the set of development teams that are there, a few hundreds of people, are at least working on dozen departments and several applications, including from passport to certificate-less government to various other student application to universities to many other areas where some of these applications have already gone live. Citizens have directly benefited through these applications going live. And we continue to build more and more applications. They are actually rolling out many more applications, and hopefully in the next 12 months' time, they will see a lot more of those applications being available and then get direct benefit out of them.
These services have been already launched since a couple of
Yes,
months back.
several services. Several services. Are
so
already.
how is the feedback? Like, what is that happening at that stage?
I think it's been great. I think it's been great. I think what I think different departments and their officials are, what we are hearing is that they want to accelerate this. They want to basically see if we can actually bring in more people and deliver these services much more faster, so that we can actually bring in those tangible benefits sooner. So the feedback has been tremendous. I think the program is highly successful. I think the vision is unbelievably great. I think if we continue to push that in the same direction, the next few years, I think we might be able to achieve probably the biggest digital transformation of a government that we might have seen anywhere in the world. And Andhra Pradesh could be the first state to do this.
What's your take on the deep tech startups, especially which are coming up these days? Because NASSCOM is really giving a lot of good launch pads for providing such product enclaves.
Yes.
What's your take?
I think it's the trend has been fairly encouraging. I think if you go by the investments that are coming in, or funds that are investing in some of these startups. From last year, I think I looked at some data which showed that from last year to like 2017 to 2018, there is a 3 times increase in the number of dollars that was invested. I think it went up from $70 million to almost $240 million purely invested in the deep tech startup space. I think I think both the financial services and more importantly healthcare provide great platforms. I think in terms of the deep techs can really come into play, because deep techs are essentially use advanced algorithms to essentially, because with a large group of data sets, you apply deep algorithms essentially to learn a lot more about health, or it could be anything, right? I mean, I think from a healthcare perspective, I think the opportunity in India is so huge, right? If you think about our elderly population, our population who are suffering through various diseases. If only there was enough data about them, enough place where we can essentially run some of these advanced algorithms, I think there's a lot that can be learned. So I anticipate over the next couple of years, you will see many of these deep tech startups not just get seed funding or next level of funding, but actually really do something very useful for our society as well.
What's your view on the overseas direct investment into our country? As on today, after the GST and many more reforms coming ahead. So what is your current take on the overseas direct investment?
Well, I think FDIs, I don't know what, I've not seen the recent numbers, but I think the general trend towards 2018, I think it started off quite well. I think in the middle of the year, I think there was some uncertainty, there was a lot of pullbacks, I think which was combined with the whole issues with the gas prices going up, which is where we've seen the dollar sort of, rupees rather take a beating as well. But I think towards the last couple of months, again, the whole environment seemed to have increased. So overall, I think from a macro perspective, I think FDI continues to look good because there's no reason why when a country is growing at a pace that we are, I think we will continue to attract investments. But I think, as we can make it as easy as possible, as I mentioned earlier about with the government can sort of, clear out some issues in terms of the money transfers, the taxation, and some of these areas, I think it should only be positive in the coming years as well.
What would you like to tell about the personal data protection bill, which has been recently taken up?
Sure, I think it's a very important bill. In fact, we take some of this data privacy very seriously as an organization. In fact, Pega has put in our own technology what we call as T-switch. Okay. T-switch means it's called transparency switch. So depending on the kind of job you're doing, you can essentially make this switch opaque, meaning you don't have to know anything about how a decision got made by an artificial intelligence. Or in some cases, we have to put it at transparent T, which means you have to explain how my data was utilized to make a decision, right? Now, you might have seen GDPR. I mean, GDPR has put in a very stringent, rules out there in terms of how an individual data should be used. Okay. We need to have your consent before I can use your data to make any decisions. Because sometimes in the artificial intelligence world, the risk is that if you do not make the right decisions, if you allow some sort of a deep algorithm to learn about you and make a decision which might not be good for you, and there is no way to explain how we made the decision, that's not the right outcome. So, which is why we've actually were the first company in the industry to create this T-switch in our software. So, I think further going along, India, I expect is also to model along what GDPR has did, because I think it's important for all of us to have protection of our own data. It's important for us to know what companies are doing with our data. It's important to know if the companies are selling our data to some other companies for some other purpose that we never signed up for in the first place. These are all, in my opinion, our rights, our citizen rights. So I expect that I think when the bill comes out, it will address all of these issues. I think other countries are also looking at doing this. So we have some other bills to learn from. Therefore, I think GDPR serves as one. So I think it's going to come out sometime during this year, I believe, 2019, summertime. So I hope to see a lot of these clearly defined in them.
We would like to know where AI can be put on to use. Like there are a lot of various aspects and various parameters are there. So can you just give us some idea like where AI is being used in everyday's life?
Oh, I think there are huge use cases to even start from, right? Like AI is pretty much omnipresent in our lives, day-to-day basis. I think the moment that we wake up, we're looking at our phone. There is AI, working behind the scenes. Correct. The moment I get logged into my desktop or laptop, I go to Google. There's a lot of AI being powered out of it. The moment you call your phone company or your healthcare company or an insurance company or your bank, who you're interacting with there is actually aided by artificial intelligence to actually speak to you. So I think, the healthcare, for example, I think, if you look at many elderly patients in global world, I think some of our customers like Philips, they have, chips put on their shoes of elderly, which, monitors their walking path, they could, if they're going to be falling or not. I think they can preempt some of this data automatically, so the healthcare can be available right now. We work with companies like GM, I think, where these GM cars are now equipped with artificial intelligence, where they're learning about a driver's driving styles.
Okay.
So sometimes if the car is going to break down, if you know that the car can break down 2,000 kilometers before, they'll tell you about many kilometers before that you need to go and get this checked because this could break down 2,000 kilometers later. Or sometimes they could send the data directly to the insurance company and say, he's a very safe driver, he has not had any accidents for the several years, therefore we've applied AI, therefore give him some premium discount. So I'm telling you, I think I can give you 10 other examples as well, but
Wow.
I think as we speak, AI has just become omnipresent in every aspect of our lives.
Okay, in terms of monetizing using the AI technology, how can a business prosper in terms of attaining that kind of financial goals using AI?
Oh, definitely. I think because the intelligence that they provide using this decisioning and analytics, you can essentially pinpoint and you can go to a customer. So for example, we use this in our CRM software, right? CRM software means, it has to do with three areas. One is you're providing a service to a customer, or second one is you're selling somebody to a customer. Third one is you're marketing something. In the earlier world of, let's say, take marketing, you did segmentation of different people. You said these are high net worth people, this is middle income people, this is low income people, and you run campaign strategies for three segments based on certain criteria. Now with however, with all the high net worth people do not think the same way, right? But having said that, that was the only way you could only segment. And you hope that, I think, your marketing spend would get benefited because, some of that people would come back and buy your services. Today, with the power of artificial intelligence, we can do one-to-one customer engagement.
Oh.
You don't need to be segmenting people. We will treat every individual as a separate person. So AI can now detect what that person wants might be very different than a person next to him, even though they might be same age, from the same city, might be net worth the same amount, might be doing same things, but their needs might be very different.
You mean one can get a tailor-made or a customized
Absolutely,
service?
Absolutely. That's what I think AI has evolved into. In fact, I'll give you an example of Royal Bank of Scotland.
Okay.
I think what they have done is they've taken this whole, what they call this as personology, right?
Oh.
They've taken this personology to a certain level where they actually certify all their employees to go through this personology class.
Mm-hmm.
So they're trying to sort of bring back the 1970s banking style, for example.
Oh.
If you walked into a 1970s bank, the bank manager would know your name, your father's name, your mother's name, your birth date, your anniversary date, your children's name, because he was, he handled a few people,
Correct.
he had a relationship with you personally, you felt good about walking into a bank, and so on and so forth. But the kind of growth now the banking industry has had, they rely too much on computers, so therefore you don't have that personal connect with anybody in the branch manager or nobody anymore. Now, what RBS has used AI to bring back that personology of providing one-to-one service again back in there. So now when you actually interact with any of them, because of AI-powered data, the next best action allows them to tell them that, this customer is so-and-so, this is what he's been doing, with, so we can provide that one-to-one kind of an engagement now. That's been applied in pretty much all areas of the industries now.
Very important topic on AI, as we were discussing in detail. Now, what's the Pega playing a role in terms of executing these AI projects?
So obviously we've taken a leadership role as it pertains to artificial intelligence because, as I said, we are in the business of building software for automating large, business processes at different companies. We also do customer relationship management software, which I explained is sales, service, and marketing.
Yes.
In each of these interactions, as I've explained, I think artificial intelligence has become a much expected thing. If you want to, realize business benefit, increase your sales, reduce your marketing spend, increase your customer retention. The insights that you gain out of artificial intelligence is the way that the world is looking at it. So therefore, we have done significant investments. In fact, the investment that we've done about a good decade back by acquiring a company called Cordiant has allowed us to beef up our entire artificial intelligence capability, from much longer time than many of the competitors have started investing in, which gave us that opportunity to take the leadership position in terms of positioning our what we call as customer decision hub. Decision hub is our AI engine essentially, and that is actually sits right in the core of our architecture. So no matter what you do with our software, whether it's a business process automation, customer service, marketing, some back-end automation, or sales, always on customer brain, which is our AI engine, is constantly guiding you in every interaction for your business. And therefore, I think AI is one of our core aspects of our technology, and I think we've been fortunate to sort of invest in a long time back.
What Pega is expecting in coming years from these developing technologies?
Look, I think no company can sit here and say what's going to happen in the next 5 years or 7 years. Today, strategies change every 3 months. Earlier, you used to make strategic plans for 10 years, then it came down to 5 years. Today, strategies have to be constantly looked at every quarter, in my opinion, and constantly pivot. As it pertains to the next year or 2 years, I'll say I think the maturity of AI will continue to increase as computing speed continues to increase. Cloud is an area where I think we are becoming mainstream. Cloud was something that I think certain industries have sort of taken in quite well, but I think with the data concerns or sort of data residency concerns, verticals like financial services, healthcare were a little bit more cautious about it. I think that's changing now. I think so cloud is another area where I think we are doing a significant investments. In fact, many of our implementations in the coming years are going to be cloud only, as opposed to traditional on-prem. So I think AI-powered systems and leveraging cloud, I think, are the two trends that are going to continue to be mainstream for the next 12 months at least.
Actually, there's a talk in the market that this would be most of going to be the populist budget. Is that going to be true?
Well, I think I can only guess at this point, but I hope not.
Yes.
I think as any businessman would say it. I think you're right. I think the elections are the next few months around the corner, so there is a possibility that it might address some of those measures as well. But I think I think reforms have to be continued. I think Mr. Finance Ministers, I've read his statement that they're not going to do any pullback at this point. Yes. They're going to continue to push through these reforms and ensure that we fast track the progress. Given the last 2 years with the whole GST and the demonetization, we've took a couple of hits where I think the economy, slowed down for a couple of quarters. I think we've turned around that corner, and now I think we're moving at a fast pace with an opportunity to even move at a further pace. So I expect, I think, there's going to be a lot more policy clarifications. I think the existing policy needed some clarifications. I think we're going to hopefully see some of those. From an IT perspective, I think I spoke about some of the issues related to taxation, permanent establishment, transfer pricing, GST as well. I think in terms of some reductions where we expected. Income tax is another one. Corporate taxes, I think, is from 30% to 25% is something that is anticipated. Hopefully, we'll see some of this stuff, because when you see some of these clarifications, then I think you will see the economy could grow faster than what we are at this point.
So any kind of announcement can we expect from Pega in the recent time, and when will the whole e-Pragati program will be completed?
Well, I think in terms of our software, we currently have a large development center in Hyderabad. We have another center in Bangalore, which is very large, about 600 people now, and we have Bombay is a new center that we opened up as we were doing sales operations last year when we ramped up. I think at this point, I think we will continue to invest in these cities as opposed to going to the new city. But if we have to go to a new city, if we make an acquisition or some sort of a business need, of course, then I think we'll update you. But I think at this point, I think we want to continue to build in what we've invested in. Your second question was in terms of e-Pragati. Look, e-Pragati is, like I said, it's a vision that's going to take. It's a continuous, development of it, right? I mean, you're not going to see, there's no end state to it, because this is like a technology. I think the vision is to continuously invest in this platform and keep building better services aided by all of the latest and the greatest technologies of artificial intelligence, machine learning, natural language processing, big data, analytics, and so on and so forth. So you will see that I think our engagement will continue to be there. I think as citizens will start seeing new applications come up, new ease of use happening. For example, certificate-less government is another great example, right? Today you want your birth certificate or even your death certificate, or it takes so much time because you have to walk into government offices, you have to essentially deal with
Correct.
some sort of middlemen, brokers, and so on and so
Yes.
forth. You need to bring in a whole bunch of data and so on and so
Yes.
forth. We're completely automating that. So using KYC and some of the data about a citizen,
Okay.
you can essentially, for example, if you have to apply for an admission or a job application to some place, they'll ask you for a birth certificate.
Yes.
Now you don't need to carry this birth certificate from place to place anymore.
Correct.
That application online can actually connect to CLGS, which is a certificate-less government services, and be able to in real time extract your birth certificate and make a copy of that. That's just an example of how much it can transform a regular citizen's experiences,
Wow.
right? It reduces the friction. Today, you're having to deal with 33 departments who all try to identify you in some form or fashion.
Yes.
The identification is only through either a birth certificate or through a driver's license and so on and so forth. And I think we're going to make completely automated that so that nobody has to worry about, really producing these documents,
Yes.
working with the middlemen, worrying about graft, corruption. All of that will be cleaned out of the system.
Wow.
So similarly, I think you will see a plethora of services across various departments that are going to be developed and deployed for the citizen. It's just the beginning right now. We've just started this journey. There are quite a few applications already, I think, impacted in the admission process, which I think recently concluded.
Yes.
Hundreds and thousands of students who got enrolled was all done through this platform in a much seamless way, in a much more automated way, which allowed for both students and for the colleges to leverage this application to make it automated. In fact, you can actually go to one portal. One portal is the ePragati portal. If you go to one portal, you will be able to see a list of services that are already listed out there. And you can see how some of those systems can provide services for you across departments.
Thank you very much for coming on
pleasure.
to our show, sir. Thank you once again.
My pleasure.
Thank you.